Welcome back to the Produce Industry Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Patrick Kelly. As always, honored to be here, coming to you live from Tampa, Florida. And guess what? Today, we've got one of our sponsors who we just gave you a sneak peek of, who's going to start our episode off, co-host a little bit for our episode, and introduce our featured guest of today. So let's first off by introducing Maddie Fisher, our sponsor, our logistics sponsor at the Produce Industry Podcast.
Maddie, hello, everyone. Hi, Patrick.
What's happening? Great to see you.
It's good to be back. I love these lives.
I do too. I think as we were talking off mic, I need to up my packages so I can start branding a little bit more, getting that Restream logo out of there, putting our logos in. It's like our guest said that we're going to meet a goal for 2022. He's already given me some goals and KPIs already. Just meeting these characters, right? Already giving me to-do lists for next year. But we've got a lot going on. I mean, it was great to see you at SCPC. Great to see Michael as well, Hannah. Good to see some of the team. That was cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was my first trade show, and I loved it. I loved it so much. So I'm excited for the next ones coming up.
Yeah, so we got next week, we got West Coast Produce Show. That's in Las Vegas, Nevada, which I will be at. I know you've got a couple people that are going to be there, so that's always a fun one. What's the next one after West Coast Produce Show?
The next one that I'll be at is actually I won't be at the PMA. Hannah and Mike will be at the PMA Food Service.
Oh, yeah.
In Monterey, and that's in June. And then we will all be together at the Southern Innovation. How do you say that?
Innovations.
Innovation. Thank you.
Southern Inventions. Everybody.
In Savannah, Georgia. And that one's in September.
Yeah, I'll be there. I got to go to that.
Yeah, that'll be
Louisiana, I might drive to. I'm trying to convince my wife, as I was telling you, that we got to drive to Louisiana. I think a little vacation to Louisiana and PMA is in order. I think it's just a good trip. It would be, you know what I mean?
So, oh, yeah, we'll be there too. We're excited for that one.
No, I think it's going to be cool. I think what's even cooler is all the things that are happening this year. I mean, just with our relationship with the Produce Industry Podcast, John Green Logistics, new relationships are happening, new opportunities are happening, and that's what we're here to talk about next. We do have Sparkloff Media on the line today. We've got the CEO, Martin. I almost said Martin. It was like a little French. I was trying to make that. We have some very great powerhouse people. Sparkloff Media I met during United Fresh's brand storm. So, Matt, why don't you kick this thing off? Let's introduce our two guests, and then we'll cut you out and then get into Sparkloff Media.
Awesome. Okay. Yes, like Patrick said, Sparkloff Media, the CEO, Martin Stoll, and his account director, Jacqueline Osterl, will be here, and they're going to share ways to create a brand we're sharing within the produce and supply chain industry. So go ahead and grab a pen and paper and take some notes, because there's going to be a lot of valuable information that you're not going to miss, or you're not going to want to miss. I am just tongue twisting it up today. I think I'm nervous. Who knows?
You are. You could also leave your comments on YouTube and on Facebook as well. So again, if you have any questions for Martin or Jacqueline, go ahead, type them in, and we will answer them as fast as we can, or we'll put them up on the screen and let Martin or Jacqueline answer them as well. So Maddie, we'll see you later. Thank you, John Green Logistics. Let's get Martin and Jacqueline on the line today. So we'll see you later, Maddie.
See ya. I'm going to be taking notes. Can't wait.
All right. How are we doing, Martin and Jacqueline?
I'm doing well, except that you called me French when I'm German, which is kind of, I take a little bit offense to, but it's all good. I'm doing well.
It's like I was trying to for some reason. I don't know why, and it's like it was bad. It was bad etiquette on my part, Martin. I know. As I'm an Irishman, I would be offended if someone called me Chilean or called me something else that I wasn't, even though I clearly don't.
It's all good. After the year we've been through, that's a small problem to have. It's all good.
Hey, for sure. Well, a good problem to have is, I see that, Martin, you're extremely passionate about, social media marketing. I read a lot about Sparkloff Media. We talk about content worth sharing. It's fantastic what you guys are doing. When I first met or saw your first presentation, it was at Brandstorm. United Fresh had the Brandstorm conference, and really I would say for me, I say a beginning to branding produce items, because you're right. In the beginning, a brand to a produce company was the grower, packer, shipper label, right? That's like our brand, right? Really, no, that's the company name, right? But then we blast that over every product we have, and we're like, no, that's our brand. So open my eyes a little bit about how to market your brand, how to create a brand worth sharing to people, right? Creating a mission around that brand. So I think it's important that we know who Sparkloff Media is. And I'd love to get a 30,000-foot overview so the listeners and anybody watching can get that overview. Please, Martin.
Sure. Well, we are a social-first creative agency. We started over 12 years ago in the infancy of social media. And since then, social media has changed a lot, and we have changed a lot. Social media has become a lot more important. There's a lot more opportunities. So we were very lucky that we're in the right place, right time, and we have rode that wave since then. And I think it's especially interesting coming sort of out of COVID and sort of being locked up at home for such a long time, which has changed, I think, the relationship a lot of people have with food. Fresh produce, a big part of that. And sort of we are excited to be here today and talk about some of the trends we're seeing and what growers, producers can do to educate people more about what they're offering. And I think you referenced sort of content worth sharing, and I think that's a key thing to always keep in mind when you think about branding and advertising, that social media is the only platform you have where your consumers will talk back to you, right? Sort of when you do a radio commercial, you don't hear back except when they go to social media and post something there. But if you post something on Instagram, you do a story or something like that, you hear back right away, which is an enormous opportunity to create a brand, because you can create a lot more connections. So we think there's huge opportunities.
I think you're 100% right. I mean, I'm not the expert here. I'm agreeing with you. But I mean, I saw even, from when I first started my first Facebook page compared to how I would start it today or what I would do today, it's almost, you look at it as a strategy now, right? It's incorporating this in with your business. And I've seen that. And even through 2020, as we enhanced in the produce industry, a lot of technology, I was able to see that social media marketing got a lot of things moved quicker, right? I mean, even such as small things, right? As the podcast started out, but getting into, over 65 countries. And that was by social media marketing, right? That was marketing on LinkedIn. That was showing consumers what we're offering, right, Jacqueline? I mean, these are things that traditional, though, the growers were like, whoa, what are we doing here? Don't want to touch this.
Right. Yeah. And I think we've seen during 2020, even more now than before, consumers are really looking for a brand name or a personality to connect with. So even for things like produce or, anything that you're buying, you want to know that what you're buying is something you can stand behind, and having a brand and putting out content and messaging that reflects that brand is an easy way for you to tell your consumers what you're all about, and for them to find a way to connect with you and then build that brand affinity. So they're not just going to the store to buy an item, they're going to the store to buy your brand name.
And hard too, because Jacqueline, this is crazy, because I talked about this on another interview that's coming out later this next month, is that the produce industry, we only get so much space. And it's not like you're going down the macaroni aisle, right, or the pasta aisle, and you see Kraft, right, and then you see the Publix brand, and then you see the Off brand. You've got so many different brands that a consumer gets to choose from, and a lot of times in the produce industry, we might only have one or two brands in that tiny little one sleeve. So we have to make either that tiny little label pop to every single consumer. But let's be real here. Do you really look at the orange sticker on there? No, it's the UPC code, right? So in our world, like, I would think we have to do more marketing in that nature. We got to be on social media more, getting in the consumer's mindset to know when they go pick an orange off the shelf or they pick an apple off the shelf, they know where that product could be coming from or which brand they are supporting.
Right, exactly. And I think we've seen, last year, grocery delivery companies skyrocket. So now you have even more people that aren't even picking out their own produce. So having a brand or something that, consumers can relate back to over and over again means when they go to place an order through Instacart or Amazon Fresh or, whatever grocery delivery service it be, they can request your product by name because they know they bought it before and they trust it. It's a little less scary than saying someone pick out, a random avocado for me and they don't know how ripe I like my avocados. But at least if it's, just to use the, low-hanging fruit example, a California avocado, you have a little bit more trust in what that product is going to be.
True. I heard an ad spot the other day on Pandora, and it was like the CA, when you think of California, you think of avocados. When you think of avocados, like they did this whole commercial around avocados from California, Martin. It was crazy because it made me think like, wait a minute, I'm in Florida. I get these Dominican Republic avocados, Florida avocados. So but you're right. When you go to a restaurant and you get avocado on a flatbread, that's a California, California avocado pizza, whatever they call it. But it's so true. That's where the mindset goes, right? And I think that there's a way to do that. And Martin, you said it earlier, which was you're able to connect with your customer, right? Your consumer. And I think that's powerful because the consumer is the one that's going to walk into a grocery store, a retail outlet, and say, hey, I'm looking for an Apple device, or I'm looking for, let's see if this one even has it. Nope, doesn't have it. It just has a supermarket's name on it. But this is a Red Delicious. We need to be able to do that. And I think if consumers are able to be on social media, businesses to businesses can be on social media. It's almost like that subliminal messaging, and that's why you always think of like the golden arches, because there's so much subliminal messaging happening over and over and over again.
I think there's, if I can just, I think to what Jacqueline said, I think there's what Jacqueline mentioned. People, our grocery shopping habits have changed, right? So we don't go to the store as often anymore. It might come back now, but for a long time we didn't go as often. We had other people shop for us, and I think that impacts, especially for fresh produce. It has a couple of implications. One is, how do you educate consumers better about the product that they're buying and what the use cases are? How long can you keep it fresh, and so on. I think there's stuff that people before the pandemic never thought about, because they would just be like, oh, I can go to the store tomorrow on the way back home from work. And now we don't do that anymore. The other thing is, from a branding perspective, so we work with the US Pear Growers Association, for example, and we do a lot of work with them around educating consumers about different varieties, for example, right? So if the people look at it not just like it's a pear, well, you have no idea of the amazing world of pear varieties that exist and use cases for them and so on. And I think that's the stuff where social media can play an important role, because as a medium, it's easier to tell stories. You can make content more entertaining. We've done fun stuff like AR filters, which tell you which personality are you, to introduce varieties, use cases, recipes, and stuff like that. I think the other stuff is, when you look at how much more people cook at home now, I think there's huge opportunities to look at what are the trends. We've seen that very clearly through the pandemic, for example, for baking. It seems so long ago, but in the beginning of the pandemic, like we all went through this phase of getting a sourdough starter, and then you work way up and make more complex food and stuff like that, or baking pizza at home or whatever. And I think from a produce perspective, it's worth keeping a finger on the pulse of these trends and seeing what are consumers really into, because there is some of the stuff gets hot and then stays a couple of months and it gets cold. And producers are able to give me reasons why should I sort of be interested in this kind of tomato because they go well with these recipes and stuff like that. I think that's where educating consumers, making it easy for them to see the use cases, making it easy for them to try new things and packaging together. I think that's where coming back to good content, sort of that's what helps you there sell it through.
Yeah, and then speaking of that content worth sharing, I mean, I saw an ad the other day. It was fantastic. It was for a logistics company, like a tracking system from Tive Inc. If you haven't seen it, you got to go on, look at Tive on LinkedIn. But it was like this old Western carriage that was, taking a package across the Old West. Bandits were getting ready to rob it. And then all of a sudden, as soon as they, started robbing the coach trailer, the tracking system like zoomed back to the cowboys in the bar, and they were like, "Oh, thank goodness!" And they were like, "Can bandits really steal your shipment?" No, but with Tive, you can track your shipment the entire way, and that's a tracking of everyday items, right? To a consumer, why do we care about that, right? But it was so relevant, like what you were saying, because by educating, right, and I think if more consumers saw that, they would probably care more about the supply chain of this single apple, right? And right now, they're like, no, I'm going to buy this, right? And as long as it's 99 cents or cheaper, then I really don't care, right? Because that's what we focus on. A lot of us focus on that money. We don't care about the back items as long as we get it for cheap, right? And it shouldn't be like that. But content worth sharing. It's like if I'm a grower, packer, shipper of apples, and my wife loves Red Delicious. Okay, I hate Red Delicious. They have no flavor. They've got this nasty, like thick, like skin. Like this thing scares me. Okay, like I'm more of a smitten guy. I love the Cosmic Crisp, and but it's funny because this is that standard staple item which is always promoted though too. So I know my wife's like, "Oh no, Red Delicious, it's the best flavor. The best apple." And I'm like, there's like 28 other varieties that are out there. But I know, like I said, that is that messaging that she's gone through growing up as a kid, knowing how the Red Delicious tastes. And really, she doesn't know any better, right? When I tell her about some of these other varieties, she's like, what? A Jazz apple, right? And then I bring it to the table. But none of these other varieties are marketed probably like the Red Delicious has or was, or none of the Smitten is, or the Cosmic Crisp. I mean, there's new apple varieties that are hitting the stores, right? So I think that we have to, agreed, right, build content worth sharing. But, okay, here's the question now. Ready, Jacqueline, Martin? It's like, but where do I start? How much money as a grower, a packer, a shipper? How do I just go, okay, I'm going to start today. 35,000 is my budget, 50,000 is my budget, because at this point, we're just selling fruit here. Now we're trying to sell a brand and get bigger and larger and scale and grow. What the heck do we do?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think the best part about being in digital nowadays, though, is you don't have to start with a huge budget or a huge team or even a ton of assets. I mean, social media specifically, and we'll talk most about this because it's really where our expertise is, really allows you the ability to test a ton of different messages and brands right off the bat. So if you say, I have a budget of $500, like, great, let's launch an Instagram channel and see, if we can test A, B, what's the message that's going to resonate most with the consumers? Is it more about, to your point, Patrick, the journey of the apple and making sure the consumer really understands where it comes from? Or is it more about the use cases and what's this apple best used for and which recipes and why would I buy this varietal versus a different varietal, or this brand versus a different brand? So you can go in and kind of test out different messages and see what's working before you scale up and start investing quite a bit of money. So I think that the best answer to that question is it doesn't have to be scary. You can even partner with influencers and ambassadors, get some content rolling, do it at a small scale and learn what works before you really dive in. Martin, what are your thoughts on getting started?
Yeah, no, to your point, you can take photos with your iPhone if you have to. The quality is good enough. And I would echo what you said is the testing, right? Sort of if you post something today and you put a tiny paid budget behind it, I think that's when we talk to people who have not done a lot in social media, they underestimate how much you can how much awareness you can generate, how many people you can reach with a pretty small paid budget. If you have not done that before, I would recommend that, giving that a try. And then just testing and seeing what works. I mean, to your point, Patrick, was when you showed the red apple, right? I think a lot of it is education and giving people use cases of saying, this is where this apple sort of, if it's making apple crisp or, putting in a salad or something, creating use cases and getting people excited and not looking at it as a commodity of saying an apple is an apple is an apple, because it's not. But there is this huge education gap, and you can on social, it's a pretty easy way to reach people. One last thing to add to that, I think if people have not done it, to go on Reddit, for example, which is this conglomerate of very small communities, but people being super passionate about it and looking at what are people saying who really love avocados or love strawberries or blueberries or even romaine salad, or you name it. You will be surprised about how many people are out there and getting ideas about what are they talking about, and using that as a jumping off point of saying, let's amplify that message, find content ideas there, find recipes and stuff like that.
I agree. And I think, we started a new mobile application this year, one of our organizations, Flavor Wave Fresh. It delivers fresh produce boxes directly to your doorstep. We are definitely learning more about omni-channel marketing. We're learning more about how to do these things, creating YouTube pre-rolls. And before the question was why, right? Then now it's not more of a question of why. It's like, okay, how do we do this, right? Because now as we started to test, and then we started, people, like I said, you get those comments or those emails and say, hey, I saw your video, I'm interested in seeing more. Or, hey, you got that swipe up on Instagram and they connected through your page, right? And I've started to see that even on my YouTube channel as well, even doing things as running ads on LinkedIn, that you're pretty much sending them to a clickable link, sending them to a purchase. I even noticed my YouTube channel grew. We're just at about 1,200 subscribers now. But I noticed when you give someone a place to click, right, you actually give them somewhere to go, right, and they're interested already, then about, I don't know the exact percentage rate, because but you're going to get a good percentage of clicks. You're going to get a new customer. You're going to get repeat customers. I've noticed that just from, I would say, July, August of 2020 through today. And I don't preach it enough to our industry. I know a lot of people have been burned in all industries when it comes to digital marketing. You digital marketing people are like the devils. But it's true, right? I know you've heard it, Martin. You've heard it, Jacqueline. You just laughed about it. But so many people are afraid because they're like, what's the return on investment? Well, I'm here to tell everybody the return on investment is you are investing in your brand, your company, okay? You listen, I'm going to do this because I think it's the funniest thing. People think that this is like the only way they can market. It's like, I'm going to give someone a business card, right? And it's like, that's marketing. When's the last time your company came to you and said, everybody tally up all the business cards we've purchased over the last few years. We're doing ROI on each business card, right? Like there is none, right? Your goal is to get these out when you're at a trade show, when you see the little drop your business card in a box to win your office lunch. Your goal is to get people to understand who you are and what you do. That's my belief. It's always been my belief. And I think the digital marketing just 100% enhances that belief too.
It's funny that you mentioned the business card, because one of the trends that we've seen across multiple industries, and produce definitely being one of them, is people want to know more the story of the person who's behind it, right? So instead of giving the business card, the digital way of doing it would be, show me sort of where the produce comes from. Show me the people who I have to thank for that I get it, or what's the story behind it. There's this, obviously knows this huge trend towards buying local, and fresh produce, or produce in general, is no exception from that. I think even more than other categories. So we see that when we look at the content, right, sort of where it doesn't have to be, the apple shot in the studio with perfect light, like little water on it and stuff like that today.
Yeah.
It's okay that they have a little bit of dirt on it, as long as people feel like this is somebody who really tells me where I'm coming from, who are the people behind it. Because ultimately, again, looking at the post-pandemic consumer, like people really care about, want to support. I want to know who am I supporting. I want to do good. I want to be a part of it. Huge opportunity to tell a story through social media with very little effort.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on that. You know, it's funny. Maddie just set a comment. We'll put her latest comment in. People like to see real life. There you go. Behind the scenes. Totally agree. She's going to make another comment. I can already tell. So my YouTube channel is exactly what I say to that, right? Sometimes, like, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's like my son and I in our kitchen, like on our table, and we're just out. Yeah, sometimes the stove isn't as clean as like my wife wants it to be. But then I'm like, you know what? That's like real life, because when you're going to go cut an apple, are you like, clean the entire kitchen before you cut that apple? No, I'm like, let's cut an apple. Let's get some footage real quick of this. Let's do this. And it's like sometimes you see these production studios that do some of these videos with, you know, fruits and vegetables. And you're just like, that is not what it looks like in my kitchen when I make apple pie. Like, there could be like batter on the ceiling. Like, I don't know how some of these people keep it that clean. They're great videos. Don't get me wrong. I love them. But I can tell you, my 9-year-old will tell you it's more satisfying watching the process. Like, we did on my YouTube channel the largest self juicer for freshly squeezed orange juice, and there was a part where it spit out all the seeds. My son was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool! That's how the seeds get thrown out," and blah 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 blah. If you were just showing that freshly squeezed OJ, you probably wouldn't put that scene in there because it's not really media worth sharing, right? But to some, it's like, yeah, they want to see that full process. Like, how do you get all the pomegranate seeds out of a pomegranate, right?
Yeah.
And I knew Maddie was going to say something. I agree with Patrick's wife. Clean kitchen first. At least close the cabinets. Yeah, if you go to my YouTube channels, I do not have that kind of protocol, everyone. I am real life and authentic. You can catch everything, baby walking, all kinds of fun stuff. But you'll get cool produce. You'll get cool produce videos. But, I'm with both of you on this. I mean, I think that everything that, we can do as organizations, building your own personal brand, I think it's a great way to do it through social media. I think it's cool that Sparkloff Media has been a staple in the produce industry, being at, United Fresh's brand storm and connecting in all types of different ways. So if anybody wants to get a hold of Sparkloff Media, reach out to either of you, how can they go about doing that?
I think the easiest way would be to go to our website at sparkloftmedia.com, but you can also find Jacqueline and myself on LinkedIn probably. I would recommend the website sparkloftmedia.com as the first point of contact. We would be happy to hear from everybody.
Yeah. You can definitely see all my cooking fails and my daughter running around with our cabinets open as well on my Instagram as well, which is just Jackie O. So I'm with you, Patrick. There's not always time to clean the kitchen.
There is not always time. Maddie will give me crap. My wife even gives me crap. But you know what? Like I said, I mean, we all have a brand. We all have that content worth sharing, amazing content worth sharing. And that's what we're just trying to get people to do. Everybody, as my friend Chris Kremitzel says, is start ugly. Like you said, don't have to have this crazy plan. Don't have to have it all mapped out. Start ugly. Start with the process. Get a couple principles of marketing in the way, and I believe that you could figure it all out. So,
just to add one last thing, Patrick, I think you are the best example. Right? You are super passionate about produce, right? And it really shows. And sort of that is there's way more interest in showing a perfect kitchen. I think anybody who works in this field is going to do it because they really genuinely are passionate about fresh produce. So if they have a way of bringing that over and sharing that, that's what people are really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I thank you for the comment as well. I love fresh produce. Again, stay away from my mom. She still asks, does Patrick really eat fresh fruits and vegetables? She still thinks I'm a 12-year-old boy that will say no to everything. But hey, I love her, so just stay away from her because she doesn't know that I eat all this stuff yet. So Martin, Jacqueline, thanks for coming on the show today, and we appreciate, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Well, Sparkloff Media. That was a great conversation. I'm glad we had a few comments. Our sponsors were on the line today. We had Maddie with John Green Logistics kicking off the episode, introducing Martin and Jacqueline. What a great conversation talking about social media marketing. I think that's awesome. I think with technology, with all the rise and everything that we are doing in the produce and supply chain industry, that it is great to see companies like Sparkloff Media jumping in and helping us enhance and maintain our brands. Okay, everyone? Because like we said, this apple has a way of getting out there, okay? This little UPC sometimes can and will tell a story, everyone. And that's what I like about this, is that we get to have fun conversations with cool people here at the Produce Industry Podcast. So thank you to all of our sponsors. We'll see you in the field or on the horizon.